Hi, I'm Cheryl,
And I'm Caitlin,
and
and
this
this
is
is
your
your
behavior
behavior
tip
tip
of
of
the
the week.
week. Today, we're going to be talking about prompt hierarchies.
The prompt hierarchy starts with prompts that are less independent and move to more independent.
Hmm, that's true, Caitlin. So, if we start at the bottom,
Those prompts are less independent. So when we give a
oh, okay,
full physical prompt, those are prompts that are less independent
that
for our
makes sense.
students.
That makes sense. Okay,
But our goal is always for our students to be as independent as possible. So when we're prompting, we want to be fading the prompt as much as we can.
that
So we
makes
want to be
sense.
moving our way up the prompt hierarchy towards
Oh,
a visual prompt. So if we looked at this prompt hierarchy, we would start with a full physical prompt,
okay.
move to a partial physical. Then we could do modeling. We could gesture the prompt, which would be showing them, a verbal prompt, and then a visual prompt, which is our least intrusive prompt.
Thank you for that. So we can go from most to least if the child or the person, the student needs a lot of help, and then we can actually like jump in anywhere based on what they need, right?
Exactly. So you would
Ah,
jump in based on what the student needs, but your goal would be to use the least restrictive or invasive prompt the student needs at the time.
thank you for that, Caitlin. I feel like that makes a lot of sense. So the importance of prompts. Can we talk about that for a minute? So
Yes.
prompts are important because, as Caitlin said, fading them just as important, right? So we need a little help, but we also need to know when we're ready to do it on our own. And they can't stick around forever and ever and ever. We want it to be less is more. Less is more.
Less is
So this is important. Look at that second action point. Prompts that are not faded correctly can really create some prompt dependencies. So that's like when you see the student and they're standing in front of their cubby or their bucket or their basket and they're waiting for you to tell them, take off your backpack. That's like prompt dependency. We really like that kids want to ask permission for things, but we don't want them to be prompt dependent, right? So it's different if they're asking to go to the bathroom and you're saying yes. That's different than just standing there waiting for somebody to say backpack off. Too much, too much. And this is even more important. The student's performance should drive the fading process. So we use data because data tells us the story to know when we should be fading in and out of those prompts. So we might start with a full physical and maybe we're doing partial physicals and maybe we get to gestures and we notice the student still needs a little bit more support. So maybe we go back to partial physical. Does that make sense?
So using data to
Data
drive it.
to tell the story.
I get it.
Thank you,
And I like
Caitlin.
how you said that it's not really about, obviously, we asked to go to the bathroom. So this isn't necessarily about, there's some things that we ask permission for,
Absolutely.
but then there's some things the student knows to take the backpack off. So prompt dependency would be when the student knows to take the backpack off, but they're waiting for someone to prompt them to do so.
Oh, Caitlin. So like the things that should be part of our routine versus the things that we should ask permission for.
And you know what's a huge thing that would
Tell
be really
me.
great for routine? Visual prompts.
I love
Having
that.
so visual prompts for what to do when you come in the morning. Hang your backpack, take out your folder, put your lunchbox on the table. Just some
Okay.
visual prompts to support that.
I love it. So they're not necessarily on their own, but they have somewhere to look if they need some support.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So types of prompt fading. Do you want to talk about this? You want to?
Sure.
Okay.
So I can start talking about it. So prompt fading, we can go from most to least. So that would mean that fading is built in, and that's really, really good to use with new skills. So this is something that would be new to a student that they don't know what to do yet. So we want to show them using that prompting. So we would start with a more invasive, a higher prompt, and then we would fade it as the student gets better with it, as Cheryl was explaining before. Would you like to explain least to most prompting for us?
Sure. So least to most, please understand that's when you're only providing as much prompting as is needed. And we actually tend to do this more naturally. So like, let's say we are at gestures and we're like, book, and we're showing the book. And then all of a sudden we're like, okay, we might need some little hand over hand to get the book, right? So we tend to do that naturally, but it's important to know that you can go up, down, or down, up, or however you need to. But it's usually best to try and match the student unless it's a brand new skill, like Caitlin said. Whew, so which is best? So most to least and least to most. There's some pros, right? So most to least, the learner makes less errors. So that's like really supports that errorless teaching.
Mhm.
There's more contact to success, which can lead to less frustration. We don't want our kids frustrated, right? And there it is. Learning becomes errorless. I was already on that one. Okay. Least to most, though, let's talk about that. they have more opportunity to be independent. And our whole goal is to make independent learners and hopefully really good providing, connecting citizens, right? Teacher is only providing as many prompts as are needed, which is great for us as teachers. So we're not so
Because we already
tired.
provide enough prompts as it is.
Yes, we do. We tend to do it naturally. I love natural stuff. And then sometimes our students need way less prompting than we think. So it's okay to try it both ways depending on that individual learner. There's some drawbacks for both. Not fated correctly, most to least can create that prompt dependency, which we talked about, and it can take a little longer to achieve mastery because they're waiting for us. So we want to know kind of finding that balance, and the data can tell us that. Now, for least to most, the learner may learn to wait for prompts. So that might be a problem. Dun, 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 right?
Something to look out for.
Absolutely. And then the learner might make more errors in the process, which, can lead to those errors actually being what they learn instead of what we want them to learn. So we really need to find a balance in this, but understanding the prompt hierarchy is really a good first step forward. And there it is again. That was a good
Beautiful prompt
reminder.
hierarchy.
It
So
is.
yes, moving from full physical, which would be moving our students, a partial physical, modeling, so showing our students how to do it. So maybe showing them how to hang the backpack, a gestural prompt, so maybe using our hands to show them how to do it, a verbal prompt, so hang up your backpack, and then a visual prompt would be showing them a visual of someone hanging up their backpack. So just a little reminder on the prompts, what they look like, and how amazing and helpful they can be.
And if you need any support or help with this, please don't hesitate to ask. It's really been our pleasure. Thanks for spending time with me, Caitlin.
Thank you and have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.